richest Americans of all time all started out as small business owners. They went from SMB to industry tycoon, and here's how you can implement their practices in your small business. Henry Ford was born in a farmhouse. At the age of 16, Henry Ford left his family farm to go become a machinist apprentice. He really developed a knack for working on steam engines and eventually went to go work for the company Westinghouse. He loved to tinker. He built a steam wagon and a steam-powered tractor. But deep down, he didn't think that steam was going to be a viable option for running lightweight automobiles. He found that the steam engines were just too heavy, too difficult, and too unstable. Now, there were electric motors at the time, and that was a way that some people thought that the world could go, but we lacked battery capacity. They really had not developed any viable battery options at that time. So in 1892, only 6 years after what's believed to be the world's first automobile was created by Mercedes, Henry Ford built his first vehicle, a 2-cylinder, 4-horsepower car. Ford eventually quit his job 7 years later, and he went and started the Detroit Automobile Company, which failed 18 months later. The company failed because Ford was consistently tinkering and redesigning his cars and trying to get it perfect, while his investors really just wanted him to get a product to market. The investors were really short-term focused. They just wanted to recoup their investments as quickly as possible, and Ford kept tinkering to try to build the perfect car. So there are a few things that led to this failure. One was misalignment. They didn't have the same vision, Henry Ford and his board of directors. And Ford, of course, missed what later was termed the minimum viable product. So if you're developing a product and you're doing a startup, it's really tempting to try to get everything perfect and get all the features out there. Really, you need to start with something that's bare bones, bare minimum, the minimum product that will serve your customer's need, put it out there and see if the market will accept it. And really, in this instance, I think both sides were probably wrong. Ford was over-engineering the product, but the board lacked long-term vision. But he didn't let that failure stop him. He just earned his real-world MBA, and he was ready to try again. So after spending a few years building race cars, Ford started the Ford Motor Company with the vision to build reliable, easy to use automobiles for the average person and sell it at a profit. Shifting from trying to build the best car in the world to building the best car that the average person can afford. The super premium over-engineered cars he was trying to build in the past didn't have product market fit. Ford Motor Company started with clear, viable goals. Viable product, a commitment to simplicity, affordability, and ease of use. Now, this led to their first product, a 2-cylinder, 8-horsepower Model A. The Model A had a top speed of 30 miles per hour and sold for what today would be the equivalent of $30,000. Only 3 were built and sold in the first month, but by the end of the first year, he'd sold 1,700 Model A's. He'd found his product market fit. Then he began to iterate on his designs, making the Model B Ford's first front engine vehicle, and he experimented with different performance models and pricing, all while remaining focused on cost, standardization, interchangeable parts, and simplifying manufacturing design. Now, this led to the Model T, which originally started out at a price of $850, but pricing eventually dropped to $260. And that was the result of a relentless focus on costs and the develop of a whole new way of production, and all the while passing on those cost savings to customers in order to drive market share. He vertically integrated the supply chain and introduced the world's first movable assembly line, cutting production times from 12.5 hours to 90 minutes, allowing Ford to cut prices while increasing employee wages. By the 1910s, 50% of the cars in the world were Model Ts. So the big lesson for small business owners is give your customers the product they want, not the one that you want. And I think this applies to a lot of restaurants and maybe some specialty areas that want to give things that are very niche-y and show off their skills as a chef or show off their particular artistic abilities, when a lot of times that's not what your customers want. They just want simple, something that's easy for them. Keep your offers both affordable and profitable, and constantly refine your process to drive down costs and use that cost reduction to drive market share. So follow us to cover more of America's richest and our favorite topic, buying small businesses.